Hey, everybody, it's Karen Anderson here for our weekend review. And I'm going to ask you before we get started that you click that like button and you click the subscribe button and you click the bell so that you're notified every time we go live. We don't only go live to discuss our prior posts, but we also go live to have interactive, engaging live Q&A events with a variety of practitioners, as well as have some really brave individuals who decide to go live and share their survivor story with you. So you don't want to miss these special events. But it's just you and I today, Joshua. So we're just going to jump right in. Let's jump right in to Movement for Movement Monday. We talk about this all the time. We had started this movement back in 2000, and it's really just our goal is to kind of motivate everybody to get up and move a little bit, whatever your doctor says that you can do. So, all of you right there now, sitting on the couch for a while to the point that your smartwatches are telling you to get up and move, scrolling through social media, Netflix, checking out some movies. Don't you think it's time to maybe get up? Right? It's time to get up and move a little bit. So we know that doing something is important. We also know that doing nothing is important. Sometimes that's just what your body needs. But sometimes it's really hard to find that motivation to get yourself to actually exercise or even to just move. But trust us and your physician. If they tell you that you can do something, you need to try to do something. And so here are some ways to try to motivate yourself to get up and move your body. Let's get into that. All right, so set a goal. So whether your goal is to feel more mobile, to feel more uh, flexible, build up some stamina, like whatever it is. Maybe you want to be able to do a 5K, whatever it is. Set that goal, make sure it's realistic, and kind of just try to stay focused on doing the steps you need to do to set the goal. It's kind of like when we plan out our week and we have a schedule and we know when we have to go to a doctor's appointment, we know the things we need to do. Set your exercise and movement goals. Also, find a buddy. Find somebody that maybe can help you achieve these goals. It makes things not seem so painful, so mundane. Finding a friend can make things actually a lot more fun and really less daunting, even if you're doing it on FaceTime. Even if you're going to walk the mall and you want to FaceTime your buddy, that's fine. But the other key to having a buddy is that they hold you accountable and they help you avoid skipping because you just don't feel like it that day, right? Try to make it fun. Exercise doesn't have to be punishment and it doesn't have to be boring and it doesn't have to be painful. So find something that you enjoy. So it can be dancing. It can be doing your favorite line dance just over and over and over again. You'd be amazed how much movement you put in and how much calories you burn and what good you're doing for your body. It could be hiking. Maybe you want to do a nice little hike. Maybe you want to do some yoga, although I think some of these yoga places don't really want you having conversations with your buddy, but it could also be playing some type of low impact sport. So whatever it is, try to make it fun, something that really makes you excited to get up and do it and reward yourself. And I'm not talking about having a slice of pizza, although that's probably okay too, or having some cake, although in my world that would be fine, but reward yourself for accomplishing that goal that you set out to do. So it could be buy yourself a new outfit. I'm all for retail therapy at the end of my workouts. It could be go for a massage. That's a great way to reward yourself. Just go for that massage. Maybe just take yourself out to a movie. Great way to cool down and to relax. Whatever it is treat yourself for achieving those milestones and staying on track, right? And be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. If you don't make that movement for the day that you scheduled, that's okay. If you can't go as far as you hoped, that's okay. If you do nothing, we've said it before, that's still doing something. Rest is okay. So focus on the positive aspects of exercising, of movement, like how it might make you feel, how it improves your overall health, how it might boost your confidence. Those are the important things to put your mind in the right place. And so, what are you waiting for, right? Get up and move your body. Do whatever your doctor has told you that you're cleared to do. You will thank yourself later for doing so. That is our Movement for Movement Monday. Okay, let's move on to Topic Tuesday. Oh, and getting back to the Movement Mondays, I love wearing my watch because I love when it shows me how many steps I've done. I love when it gives me like these trophy awards for achieving my water goal. I'm a goal-oriented person, so I can tell you firsthand if that's how you are, you want to get yourself one of these smart devices because they really do make you feel really good
Do you
about your
use it
achievements.
do you use it to measure your sleep?
I do. And you know what's so awesome about, so I have a Samsung watch, is that it'll record me if I'm snoring, which is so rare, but that's so fun to listen back to. Yeah, it tells me the quality of my sleep, how much REM, the whole 9 yards. I
How
love
do
it.
you do?
I do really well, actually. I really do. I do really well. Sometimes better than I thought when I woke up in the morning. But
Mm,
I think one of the things about these watches too is I think you have to take some of the stats like a grain of salt because for a while it was saying that my oxygenation rate was going to like 85. And yeah, that prompted me to get a sleep study done because I thought, well, if I'm dropping into that low of a rate, that can't be good. Well, the other thing too is when you sweat, you have separation between your watch and your skin. And if you have fans blowing, that's going to also create a different environment. So you can't always take every
mm,
result to heart. But it was good. It made me say something to my doctor. It also one time said, because I have an EKG and I captured what said AFib and it wasn't. I sent her right away. I sent her that EKG report and she's like, yeah, that's not AFib. Something else benign, but you know, mm, they're
interesting
still
touch.
important to have, I think. So you use yours?
I don't wear anything like a
Well,
watch.
then so.
Yeah.
Well, there
I
you
was
go.
just curious. I
Okay.
know some of my friends have talked about they would complain that they didn't get a lot of sleep and then they would put the
Hmm.
watch on and they would find out they were getting 7 or 8 hours of sleep.
I know.
And then
But
this one time my buddy was like, "Here, just tell me what your sleep is like." And like a week later, I was like, "No, this is what I told you. I go to sleep at 3 o'clock. I wake up at 9. That's what it says on the watch."
but that's still 6 hours. That's not
No, no, no.
horrible.
I know. That's just how I
Yeah.
have to operate. Otherwise,
Right.
it's bad news bears time.
Yeah, totally hear you.
Yeah.
All right, topic Tuesday. This is from Duke. So Duke is our fourth year medical student that's helping us out on our topic Tuesday, and he wants to share some facts about the TEE that we talked about a week ago, the transesophageal echocardiography. And his question was, TEE allows us to get high resolution images of the thoracic aorta by using a probe that travels through what structure? Anybody remember? I think I just said it. Goes through the
I
esophagus.
was gonna
Definitely doesn't
say,
go through
is
your
it the
trachea.
esophagus?
It is the esophagus. You're so smart. All right. So this week, he really wanted to share an article from the US FDA regarding a topic that has been discussed and often debated within the community, and that's radiation exposure. I've seen people put up posts that say, did you know a CT scan is the equivalent of 84,000 x rays? 50 million dental x-rays. It's so jarring and alarming. And it all goes back to let's get some real stats. Let's get some real important information. So this is again from the FDA, and really what he talks about is uh, prior weeks we talked about CT scans using a series of x-rays to create cross-sectional imagery of the body. And sometimes your doctors may actually opt in to do it with contrast, which is an iodine-based dye, which helps better visualize all of the vessels and the lumens that are in your aorta, as you can see here. So it's showing you, this is a perfect picture of a dissection right up here. False lumen, true lumen. Look, this is beautiful. Look at that. I mean, it's so sad to look at that there's a dissection, but it shows you so clearly. And that's what you're going to get from your CT. So one of the risks that, which we're talking about here is that there's this overwhelming radiation exposure. And your risk for developing cancer down the road. So the reasoning behind this fear is because the high dose ionizing radiation, such as those used in chemotherapy, can cause damage to the DNA cells, which may cause them to develop into malignancy. However, it is generally believed that the probability of absorbed X-ray directly induced cancer or causing mutations in your DNA is very small when you consider the low amount of radiation that's used in a CT procedure. Other feared risks, such as skin injury or reddening, are also very rare. So, in fact, at the time that this article was written that Duke referred to, no major study had actually ever proven that there was an association between CT radiation exposure and the development of cancer forming mutation in your healthy cells. So, there is nothing that's been done that's showing what people are trying to put together that I read. On the internet, but one's risk of actually developing cancer from radiation really it depends upon your so many different factors within the within your body. It's the area of the body that was exposed, it's your age, During that exposure, it's your gender and it's the dose of radiation. Now, a lot of people in this community, we go in for low dose radiation CTs, low dose CT scan, and you can make sure that that's what you're being given. That's typically what we're receiving. And here is going to be a table that's going to actually summarize the dose of radiation exposure in different medical tests. This was a study from a Dr. McCullough at the Mayo Clinic. So I'm not really understanding the MSV, but I just looking for these little teeny numbers. So here's a chest X-ray versus a lumbar spine versus a CT of the head, a chest or abdomen. So you see the coronary CT angiogram is looking like it's the highest exposure. Again, everything comes down to cost benefit. You know, if having this test with this exposure, which does not mean that you're going to get cancer down the road, if that's going to put you in a position where your life is going to be prolonged because they're going to be able to diagnose something, then you have it. You have the test done. So as they say, so CT of the chest, which was a 7, and the abdomen is an 8, for scanning the aorta would range from 7 to 8 MSV of radiation, and most tests do not exceed radiation effective dose of more than 10. So it's still below the more common dosing. So for context, an exposure of such a dose to is estimated to increase the probability of malignancy by 1 in 2,000. To compare the natural risk of cancer in the US, it says is approximately 4,000 of 2,000 or 1 in 5. So this means that the risk of radiation exposure during these tests leading to cancer is much smaller than the natural risk of exposure that you can develop cancer over your entire lifetime. So you have to remember that we're being exposed to this type of radiation every day, just in general living life. There's radiation. There's radiation off of your cell phones, your microwaves. I mean, every single test we have to have done has a degree of radiation in it. The sun, there's so much that gets put off into our environment. But so when factoring in the combined natural risk of cancer, 400 out of 2,000 in the US, and the mildly added risk of CT radiation exposure, 1 in 2,000, the risk of developing cancer actually increased from 400 to 401. So that's how small your chance of developing cancer is from CT versus just the natural risk of developing it. So the decision to undergo a CT scan and the amount of radiation used is highly tailored to each patient and will actually include an evaluation of their age, their risk status, and their therapeutic benefit of the test that they're undergoing. So for younger patients, particularly those needing a CT scan of their abdomen or pelvic area during pregnancy, dosage might be adjusted according to the decreased lifetime radiation exposure to the patient and or a fetus. So lots of thoughts, lots of things that go into making the determination on the dosing, the exposure rate, and if you're going to have a test to begin with. But be sure to always talk to your doctor prior to your radiation exposure. If you have any fears, if you have any questions, that's the time to talk about it and let them alleviate that for you. This post is just supposed to be a conversation piece, give you some scientific information that you can then also take back to converse. Look, at the end of the day, if you need to have a scan, you need to have a scan. In our community, if you're having your annual scan, you should also ask your doctor if you're feeling uncomfortable about maybe having an MRA, which does not have that type of radiation because it's all done with magnets. But, you know, doctors have different preferences and there's different reasons for using different tests. So share this information with family, friends, share it with your doctor, ask some questions, and hopefully people won't be thinking that when they get a CT scan, they're now walking around glowing. I mean, maybe you are at
Hmm.
night, but I doubt it. I
So we're
doubt it.
talking about 402,000 to 401 of 2,000.
Pretty much.
Hmm.
Pretty much. It went up by 1.
By
Very small.
1. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's small.
Who was
I
it
don't
that
know
was
what that
saying
small
something
means.
like the amount of radiation you would get from smoking a cigarette or something like that?
Yeah, that was another one. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. We're all exposed. I don't know how you compare that, uh, the radiation of smoking versus a CT scan. But you're going into the ER for a possible dissection. They're giving you a CT scan
Hmm.
for many reasons. It's quick,
Very.
very accurate. Even if you have an allergy, the amount of time it takes to be pre-medicated and then have your scan, you'd still be in the MRI machine.
Hmm.
So that's kind of why they do it. Thoughts, lots of thoughts, lots
Yeah.
of decision making. Yeah. Okay. Now I need therapy. We just go from one way to another. All right. Therapeutic Thursday. If you have PTSD, if you have PTS, you might actually also be experiencing something called hypervigilance syndrome. So, what is hypervigilance? Well, in Healthline, they had an article written by Anna Cotter, and she describes and defines hypervigilance as a state of increased alertness. Basically, if you're in a state of hypervigilance, then you're extremely sensitive to your surroundings. It can make you feel like you're alert to any hidden dangers, whether from people or the environment. Often, though, those dangers are not real, and that's the key. They're really not real. So, hypervigilance actually goes beyond uh, being aware of your surroundings and can include being extremely aware of your body, maybe to the point that you're feeling things. Um, because we're human, we feel things in our body, but this hyper vigilant state uh, makes you then start to assign a novel to those feelings. You're now putting some kind of context that doesn't necessarily exist. So let's talk about hypervigilance. So some of those physical symptoms, they really do resemble anxiety. Okay, and that could be you're sweating, you're feeling a faster heart rate, maybe you're having some palpitations, a little bit more shallow breathing, a heaviness feeling, and being in a constant state of alertness can actually make you quite fatigued and feeling exhausted. So, behavioral symptoms would include a jumpy reflex, knee jerk reaction to your environment. Uh, if you're hypervigilant, you might end up overreacting. You could hear a loud bang and be very reactive. If you misunderstand a coworker's statement, you might think that they're rude. These reactions can end up being a little violent or hostile in a perceived attempt to defend yourself. So we're talking about an extreme state. This is beyond just typical anxiety. This takes it to just a little higher level. So, emotionally, if you're hypervigilant, you might be even more anxiety ridden. You might have more fear, more panic. Um, you might worry that that's going to become even more persistent. So, it's like this cycle that just keeps going and going. So, some of these symptoms may also include a little bit of paranoia. Long-term symptoms might be, if people are trying to help you fix this, that it makes you even more anxious. I mean, that's pretty. Now you're getting into something that's even more severe. Again, this hypervigilance is it's more associated, I would think, with a post-traumatic stress, that reactive, overreactive state that you're in. But I just know that it doesn't feel great. And I think that people can be hyper aware of their body, especially when we go through something like that. That does not make you hyper vigilant. So there's a difference. If you're aware of your body and you're feeling sensations, I think a lot of us would say, those of us that have had a dissection or even had surgery to place a valve, you're feeling things differently. You're hearing your body differently. So you become more aware. You're hyper aware, not necessarily vigilant, but you're hyper aware. And we get questions all the time. I'm feeling a little ping or a pang. How do I know if I should go to the hospital? It doesn't feel good. Well, it doesn't feel good versus I'm in a lot of pain are two different things. Having that conversation with your doctor to have a plan in action is very important, but there's a definite difference there. So again, being hyper aware of yourself and feeling your body, understanding the changes that are happening is different than being way overreactive, especially if you're having combinations of being triggered, hearing things, smelling things, feeling things, seeing things, nightmares, insomnia. Once you get to that hypervigilant state, I mean, you should have hopefully been getting some therapy to help you through the PTS to begin with. But if you find that you're in this state, you should definitely talk to a physician, look for a therapist that specializes in helping to ground these behaviors and teaching you how to ground them yourself. So hypervigilance, not something a lot of people talk about, but I think we should probably be talking about it. My opinion.
Although you want to push this into the realm of post-traumatic stress, I know people who have hypervigilance because they have a test coming up, or they're
Mm,
a buddy of mine when he was training for his Microsoft certifications was like,
yeah.
tomorrow's my test, and I mean it was lunchtime that day. So after he got back from the test,
Excuse me.
he was like, dude, I kept waking up every 2 hours thinking I was gonna be late for the test, and I
Sure.
was like, late? He's like, yeah, you have to make an appointment. I was like, appointment? I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can see that. I totally
But
agree. I mean, I think when on a healthy realm, if I know I have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I need to make it to the airport to make a flight, I'm probably not sleeping. I'm half in and out of a
hmm
state because I'm so worried that I don't want to miss the alarm. I mean, I already have the alarm clock, the phone, you got everything going because you're being hyper vigilant, right? I think it's just different. Um,
I
and I
just don't
think
want
that
you
might
to
be more
lump it
normal.
in with
Oh,
acute acute
for sure.
anxiety is why,
For
because I
sure.
mean it could be spotty, right? Like
Yeah.
if you've ever fallen asleep and jumped with your heart racing, that's hypervigilance.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
it is. And
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily mean you're going through anything. You could have been startled by a noise, it could have been anything,
Sure.
but you're just launched into fight or flight.
Right. Exactly. And I
Yeah,
think those are the one-offs. I think this is a constant state of being, a constant state. And that, I think that maybe that's where it has the difference. Yeah, I don't know anybody who hasn't started to fall asleep and then got startled.
hmm
I think that starts at birth, and I don't think it
sure.
ever goes away completely. So yeah, no,
I
you're
uh
100% right.
I had this happen one time on a flight as it was taking off. And you know how you feel like you're falling when you're falling asleep,
Hmm.
and I felt like I fell right through the bottom of the plane.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
now when I'm on a plane, there is no sleep.
Mm,
One time, never again.
yeah.
My heart
Yeah.
was racing the whole flight.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yuck. Whereas I'm the one that loves that we get to wear. I like to wear my mask on a plane now. I wear it all the time. And you know what? The other reason is I wear it is because I can fall asleep, my mouth can pop open, and nobody sees it. I think it works in my favor. All right, let's move on to Feel Good Friday and Aortic Disease Awareness Month right around the corner. That begins September 1 and runs all month long. Hey, listen, some people only focus on September 19th, which used to be Aortic Dissection Awareness Day. We've kind of moved it into Aortic Disease Awareness Day because really we want to avoid the rare dissections, and let's diagnose and monitor people way before that. And then some people focus on it for 1 week. That's great. Any focus is great. We've chosen to focus on it for an entire month because there's just so much information that we should be talking about for that entire month. But this is the time to consider something fun and grab yourself some swag. Get people talking about aortic disease. Start that conversation today. So, in this link and on our Hope Shops, you can get yourself an awareness magnet. You can get a seatbelt cover. This is great if you have a family member who has any medical condition for that matter, because we do have a general medic alert belt. We have abdominal aortic aneurysm, thoracic aortic aneurysm, aortic dissection survivor, Marfan syndrome, Loeys-Dietz syndrome, vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and the regular medical alert. So we've got a lot, and you've got your choice of color. You can choose a black cover, yellow, or red. Pick the saying that you want. We'll ship them out to you with a $15 donation. I'm sorry. Yeah, $15 donation domestic, 20 if you're international, and everybody flat across the board with a $10 donation. You can get the awareness magnet for aortic disease awareness. And let's grab them now. Let's turn September into a sea of red. Right? That's what we want to do. We want to get everybody talking about that. So you can check those out under the Hope Shops tab on our website. Okay, we are moving on to Saturday, Survivor Series Saturday. We're here to remind you that the community, they want to hear from you. If you really want to be the shining star in someone's life, then consider sharing your story. Whether you are the survivor or you are the caregiver, we want to share your story. It's very validating for somebody else to hear what you went through. We find parallels, we find commonalities. We hear things that we didn't know people could go through. It really puts our own life in perspective, and sometimes it gives us questions we can take back to our own physicians. For the storyteller, we hear time and time again, it's very therapeutic. to just hear themselves go through that story or write it down in a blog format. So, what some of the things we kind of want to know in you telling your story is what were the symptoms that you experienced, and what was the process of diagnosis? Were you sent home? Were you given the CT scan right away? Like these are things that are very important, especially to Think Aorta US, another organization that specializes in being proactive and educating the practitioners on why it's so important when they have a patient that comes in with undiagnosed chest pain to really think aorta, to think about the aorta. So, um, if you would be interested in sharing your story, you have three different ways you can do it. You can do it in a blog written format. You can pre-record your story, or you can be daring and go live. And the benefit of going live is you get an opportunity to take questions from community members. And who doesn't want to answer some questions? So be the star in the story of your life and share that information with us. And there is a sign up form here on this blog post. So that is our Survivor Series Saturday. Okay, we're going to move on in a minute. There we go. Moving on. All right, share with you Sunday. Look at this. This is our patient awareness posters. These are awesome. They're going into the exam rooms at doctor's offices because we all have time when we're sitting there, and that's what we need. We need patients who have aortic disease, whether they've been diagnosed with bicuspid valve or an aneurysm or dissection. We want them to check this out. And why? Because we want them to find aortic hope so they can start feeling supported. This is a great way that you can help the organization. If you've been sitting there thinking, I really want to help and I don't know what to do, here's one. You can sign up and we will send you 10, quantity of 10 to take to your doctor's office and ask them to put them up in the waiting room. I mean, in the exam rooms. We were sending out the tableside patient advocacy rack cards to sit in the waiting rooms. COVID kind of took a lot of that paper out of waiting rooms. But then this brilliant idea came up, like, when you're waiting in your exam room. That's where you're sitting. That's where you're reading all of the material on the wall. So why not read some of the material from Aortic Hope? And these are free to you due to the generous donations we receive from community members. So if you'd like some patient awareness posters, just fill out the link and we'll send them over to you. Okay. Events. We still have so many events going on through the rest of August. We still have an Aortic Hangout. These happen on Thursdays at 2:00. You just need to sign up for the support group meeting once, and you will be notified of our support group meetings as well as our fun hangouts that happen on Thursdays at 2 p.m. We also have our end of the month virtual support group meeting on Wednesday, August 30th at 7 p.m. And then the next one would happen in September. Here we've got some events starting to pop up. The red ones have the links. The blacks are still forming links. We've got a lot going on for September, Aortic Disease Awareness Month. There's a lot of exciting things that are happening, such as live events with Dr. Ben Udelman, our cardiothoracic surgeon consultant that's on staff with us. We've got Jack Crow. He is a survivor and he is the founder of the Facebook page Aortic Athletes, and he's going to be interviewing Dr. Timothy Churchill. So this is new for us. We're so excited to have him. His interviews and Q&As kind of focus on anything that's exercise related, really picking the brains of some of these doctors that are doing some research around long-term survivors and exercise after immediately having an event, etc. So if exercise is something that you're interested in and you have questions, this is the event to sit in on our AHTV YouTube channel. So you want to check that out. We are actually receiving a proclamation of September 19th being Aortic Disease Awareness Day. And we're getting that from Frederick, Maryland. And we're going to be attending that receiving of that proclamation on September 7th. Then we're going to New York to Brooklyn Bridge. We're going to walk with Aortic Hope for aortic disease awareness. So maybe some of you can come out and walk with us. We've got another live event with Dr. Stacy Fisher. We've got our bingo event, which is awesome that you can come join in. Caregiver support group meetings twice within the month. We've got a live Ask a Doctor event with Dr. Siddharth Prakash out of UT Houston. Another live Survivor series with Lauren Fulmini. This is going to be an event that you don't want to miss. If you have FLNA, this is definitely a series that you want to listen to. And I think we may have one other thing that I need to still add. So there's a lot going on in the month of September that you need to come check out. And yeah, I think that's where we're at right now. I think that's all. Well, you know what? The cat's out of the bag. The cat is out of the bag. There's been a lot of floating information about aortic dissection, the patient guide. This is an incredible book that we were able to bring forward to the US from the UK and Ireland. They worked extensively on creating this guide, and we're blessed that they were able to hand this off to us to create the US version. We've been working on it since November, so it's been quite a few months with our team of clinicians and some patient reviewers contributing to the guide itself. This guide is really everything you need to know, everything you need to know from the point of having a dissection and you are in recovery throughout your recovery, not only for yourself, but also caregivers. And if you're going to be having open heart surgery to repair an aneurysm, this is not a bad book to check out. There's a lot of suggestions and tips for handling the surgery, for what to expect after open heart surgery. So this is a great guide for many different reasons. And we will have the free download available on Monday, August 28th. But as you see here, the printed books are 14 days, 22 hours, and 14 minutes and some seconds away from being able to be ordered. We're looking for our clinicians to order these books so that you can give them to your patients for free. So this is our goal, is to get this in patients' hands, all patients' hands that have had a dissection. And we're so proud to say that the Society of Thoracic Surgeons and the Society for Vascular Surgery have fully endorsed this guide. And we're so pleased that our first printing job was due to the generous funding of Run for Aortic Health as well as Edward Life Sciences. So there you go. Lots to keep your ears open and your eyes open for, lots of information coming your way in the future. And that, our friends, is our weekend review. Thank you, Josh, for hanging out. I know it's just you and I today,
You
but
did good today, Karen. Well done.
thanks. You did too, Josh. All right, everybody, don't forget to click the like button, click that subscribe bell so that you're notified when we go live. And please share this, because I know that somebody else will find the information we've provided very beneficial. And have a wonderful day. See you on Monday, 3 p.m. Take care.